Hey there, it's Ben from patternprofits.net bringing you the weekly watch list for the week of April 5th, 2021. We're looking at the cues here. We did get a trend line break. We got trend reversal on the daily chart, higher low, higher high. Once we printed over 324.20, so we have confirmed uptrend here, reclaimed the 50-65 MA. We're ahead, well ahead of the 10 and 20 now. See how this acts at this level. Do we pull back, maybe flag out a little bit and then push higher? So the action earlier in the week to see how it acts around this level will be important. But more importantly, we'll have to take a look at how the leaders and some of the new leaders act. Speaking of new leaders, UPST, one that I put in that category. We have kind of flagging up high here. You had the big power earnings gap, anchored VWAP from the gap, held the support. Now you have anchored VWAP from the high that it's reclaimed here late last week. Now you have the descending trend line. See if we can make some progress and push through that descending trend line, then come up, maybe test or try to push through that prior high 165.66. So that one will be worth keeping an eye on early next week. I also have ORGO, new one on the focus list, but for good reason, good numbers, and this one has had a really nice run. You see it just kind of minding that 1020 cloud all the way up, flag, 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 a little consolidation and breakout. Now it's flagging again and just starting to peak through that descending trend line. It's a nice run, from down here in the $5 level, and now trying to push through 20. So watching this to see if we get another flag breakout here and comes through and like I said, can push through that $20 level. Also have, you guys are familiar with this one, FUTU. We had a descending trend line break. You now have a double bottom pattern here, shakeout here, a little deep on the right side, but 169.38, double bottom pivot there. Came back, volume shelf, point of control acted as resistance late last week. So now we want to see if we can push through there or maybe flag out, handle type formation here to shake out. Good volume down here. So we're looking for push through 169.38 to get a run back towards those prior highs, 204.25. It wouldn't be our weekly watch list without taking another look at iRobot. VWAP pinch here. The Brian Shannon Alpha Trends VWAP pinch, resistance up high as this is descending, anchored VWAP off of the high, finding support below, descending the anchored VWAP off of the low that's ascending. So again, we got that run. What we're looking for is the breakout here. If this wants to make a run higher, it's going to have to clear that anchored VWAP off of the high. So looking, and now we're right again at that volume point of control. So does it roll back over and make another run to this lower rising anchored VWAP, or do we finally get a push through? What I'm hoping is if we see a strong market early in the week and some of the leaders are strong, maybe we'll finally get that breakout and push through there. But worth keeping an eye on. Another one from the focus list. All of these are from the focus list. LPRO. This had a monster day late last week, and this was actually on a secondary pricing, which I don't know about you guys, but my secondaries, when they're announced, they're never up 12% on the day. So when that does happen, something worth keeping an eye on. Nice prior trend. And you have a standard pivot up high here at 43. So that big, move late last week, the secondary was priced at 34. So big volume here, be a big volume back here too. Nice power of 3 setup where the 10, the 20, the 50 all get real tight there and push through. So we'll see if this can clear that $43 pivot above. I also have RADA, R-A-D-A, descending trend line right, pushing right up against it, and anchored VWAP. Let me throw that on here. Just poked above late last week. We have the volume point of control volume shelf that it's trying to push through. You have a double bottom set up here, 1345 pivot. Get through there, and then we could make a run, up to test these prior highs just under 15. So again, and you're going to see a lot of these this week. That power of three setup, a lot of them have the 10, the 20, and the 50 real tight below and can act as support if they do flag out, or if they come back down and retest, or if they do start to move up because of strength early in the week. We can look for those levels to fall into alignment, 10, 20, 50 in order, get that trend alignment, and then have them act as support on the dips. That's what we'd be looking for with these power of three setups. I talked about this one in the video with Jack over the weekend, if you or late last week if you saw the video. Kind of a broadening formation here, same type power of three setup, volume shelf, point of control just below. Look for a run to the ascending trend line up there at the top of the broadening formation. Also have Pinterest. Discussed this one in that video as well. And with Pinterest, you've got anchored VWAP from the gap back here that we're finally starting to clear. So we want to see if this can make some progress. Turn that anchored VWAP back up, and then maybe test that level would give a nice entry. You've got a pivot above at 89.90. I've got one more from the focus list for you guys. NARI, N-A-R-I. Traded this one in the past. Can trade a little thin at times, but better volume now. And anchored VWAP off of the gap, anchored VWAP off of the high, both of them acting as resistance, both here and here. Late last week, again, power of three setup. You're back above the volume shelf and point of control there, which we always like to see. Now it's, can it push through there, then pull back and retest, give a nice clean entry there. And again, trend alignment here, 10, 20, and 50 come into alignment, maybe act as support. That's what I have as far as the focus list. If we go over to the velocity power scan setups, I've got DVAX. If you look at this high and tight, the recent action, you've reclaimed the volume weighted average price off of the gap here. I see this as kind of an inverse head and shoulders setting up, which often are continuation patterns. This being the right shoulder, so we look for that to make the turn here off of the 1020 volume shelf point of control. If that can make the turn and push through, that's what we'd be looking for there. If you look at just this on its own, looks like a high tight flag, but if you zoom out, you'll see that that's the handle as part of a much bigger and larger pattern and deeper cup. So one we'll be watching early in the week to see if this can make the turn and push out. More of a swing trade. Doesn't really have the fundamentals I look for, but definitely something I could look at for trade opportunity. HIMX. Semis have been hot. This one not quite as hot as some of the others, but has reclaimed anchored VWAP from off of the high and off the gap. We're kind of right there at the volume shelf point of control, looking to see if that can push through the descending trend line. You have that power of three set up just below, so like many of the other ones, we're looking just to see if we can get some continuation there. Similar setup with KOPN, descending trend line. Nice little inside day there on late last week to work with there. See if that can push through, break through that descending trend line. Not sure why I don't have anchored VWAP. There you go, anchored VWAP off of the high. Right there, support with your point of control and volume shelf just below. This is kind of textbook, the type of setups I look for. High and tight, volume shelf, point of control right there, inside day to work with, and trend alignment with your clouds. That's about as good as it gets. I have one more from this list. Now, UNFI, you had this little cup pattern. You had a nice prior run, broke out, good volume down here on the breakout. Then I look at this as kind of a high handle. So you've pulled back, retested that pivot, which has acted as support. If you take anchored VWAP off the low of the base, you're finding support right there several times. Now want to see if this can make the turn. Buyers came in late. If you look at that candle late on Thursday. So now I want to see if this can make the turn, push through anchored VWAP off of the high, and make some progress coming back up towards those prior highs. 41.37 the prior high, and we're trading 32.88. So there's nice room there, but I have to see if it can clear this and push through that area. But support, coming in just below it, that holding that pivot. And I have one more, and that's Roblox. We've talked about this one. I talked about it a while back, trying to see if it can hold, if it can clear anchored VWAP off of the IPO day. It's descending trend line is kind of right there. I set an alert for the anchored VWAP as well. If we add one off that recent high, you can see that that's been resistance a couple times. So what I want to see is this start to make the turn, push back through anchored VWAP. Your volume shelf and point of control also happens to be right there. So we want to see that push through, maybe come back and retest, and provide an entry. Inside day over here would be nice, but get an entry above these anchored VWAP levels. We didn't quite, I was looking for that shakeout below the 60.50, which was the low of the opening, the IPO day. We didn't quite get there. We got 60.69 was the low here. So didn't quite get that shakeout below. That was what I was really looking for. But now if the market has found its footing, we may that may be it, and we may just clear that anchored VWAP off of the high and off of IPO day. And then we'll see if it can make some progress. You did have a prior high up here at 79.10. That's my watch list. That's what I'll be watching early in the week. Hope you guys have a great trading week, and I will see you over on FinTwit.